Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm sure your hair is growing as much as mine is. So, waiting for a haircut. So we'll see what we can do. There's a couple things I'd like to do this morning that'll be from the side view on the floor mat. And I hope that you'll be able to see well enough there. I was just practicing a bit ago and my hair is everywhere. So let's see what we can do. Some of you don't have this issue because you're wearing no hair. You choose to have a shaved head, so that's how it is. Okay, so let's take a comfortable seat and we're going to get started. So you can bring yourself to an upright seat. Yeah. And rest your hands in your lap. I'm so glad that you're here. Good self-care, good logistics, good planning that you're here. So please rest your hands in your lap and let your eyes close. And I'm going to ask you this morning to use the art of listening and to sense that there are sort of three regions for the ears: the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. So let's first bring attention to the outer ear so you can sense the sounds in the space around you, whatever they happen to be. And invite whatever sounds are arriving and departing to simply be as they are without having to say to yourself pleasant or non-pleasant, liking or not liking. In the process of this listening, we also can sense how sound punctuates the present moment, and it lets us remember there is a larger life beyond the sound, this immense space, I sometimes like to say, in which sound is happening. And keeping an awareness of that, but now bring your focus to the middle ear, the place in you where your body has this intelligence and in sensing hearing between background noise and the sound of human voices. So at the middle ear, your ears, your brain are able to determine this is the sound of my voice coming to meet your middle ear, and the other noises, sounds, experiences continue. In the absence of my voice, your middle ear is relaxed. It's ready to hear my voice again, but it's not straining for me to come back into your auditory field, neither grasping nor clinging. And then come to the inner ear, like innermost, and you can sense there, even if there's the slightest sound of the breath inside the throat, and don't make a big deal of the breath right now, just try to sense what is happening at the inner ear. And then gradually begin to make the gentle whispering sound of the Ujjayi breath, so the tip of your tongue can go behind the top two teeth. Make the back of the throat hollow. And start with the most subtle whisper that you can make. So your inner ear, it's like you're greeting the inner ear to say good morning. And then you can sort of gradually increase the whisper to a little bit more sound. You don't need to become the most dynamic, so just go up a few notches from the most subtle whisper to a gentle whisper. And try to sense how the air passing through the back hollow of the throat, it's picked up by the inner ear. And we want the breath to be in the back of the throat, even in the bottom part of the throat. Is it also possible for the back of the shoulder blades, the back of the heart, to widen during your inhalation? You're not rounding the spine, but can we let the upper back stretch out there between the spine and the shoulder blades? And then increase what is dynamic about the breath from very subtle whisper to gentle whisper to a little bit more whisper. Less gentle, not really dynamic, not rough, not assertive, but just a little bit more on the dimmer switch of the sound of the breath coming up. I'd like you to sense a couple things. One is that the throat stays open and hollow. It's not changing in shape for inhale or exhale. The inhale is drawn in by the diaphragm pulling down. The exhale is supported to exit by the diaphragm returning towards the solar plexus. Second thing is there does not need to be any tension in the eyes. When you increase from very subtle to somewhat subtle to whispering, the eyes do not need to experience tension. That would be a sign that you're working too hard. Now just noticing how this practice has been for you. Please bring your hands together at your heart and plan to hear now the sound of my voice, the outside sound from the outer ear, and the inner sound of your voice when you're chanting. We can sing together. Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vivishavai Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vivishavai Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vivishavai Om Shanti Om. And listen for the silence at the end of the sound. And when you exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands, open your eyes. But we're going to play with that subtlety in the breath this morning because you're experienced yoga students. You're not beginning students. You've been here for some time. Some of you for many decades we've been together, so nice. So we're going to play with that. And let me just alert Alice that Benjamin Grundy is here as our yoga model. So at times I'm going to say, let's go to Ben's camera. And you can see him on the list. It's alphabetical. Let's go to the phone camera. And please come up to standing, everyone. Okay, I would like you to have 2 blocks for class this morning. So when you come up to standing, let me just adjust that camera so it doesn't look crooked. Let's see if I can do it. So when you come up to standing, have those two blocks close by because I want to do something vigorous with the breath right now, and then we're going to check and see what we can do with the subtlety of the breath. So bend both knees, place your feet about as wide as your yoga mat, make two fists. This is from the other morning, we've done this a lot. So it's fists back and fingers forward. It's a brisk inhale back and a brisk exhale forward, like this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the arms swing until they're still. Now inhale from the base of the belly up to the heart. Raise your arms overhead. And exhale, bend your knees and come down like a rag doll. And then inhale, arms wide, rise up overhead. And exhale, let the arms float down to the side. Bend your knees slightly, make two fists, and repeat. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the arms swing, straighten your legs. Inhale from the first to the middle to the upper third. Raise your arms. And bend your knees. Exhale to come down. Now inhale, bring your heart forward like you would in Uttanasana. Touch the floor, like the curtain coming away from the window on a breeze. And then exhale and bow deeply towards your legs, like the breeze, bringing the curtain back towards the window. Again, inhale your heart forward. And exhale for a deep bow towards the legs. Squeeze the lower abdomen to release the final part of your exhale. Inhale, sweep your arms wide, rise all the way up. And exhale, take the arms out to the side, let them float back down. And pause for a moment to listen. The outer ear. Try to sense the silence beyond sound. The middle ear, how your ear knows picking up the sound of my voice. The inner ear, while you're not practicing any breathing, is listening to the silence inside the inner ear. And then take a wider stance, come to your jazz dance warm-up position. Okay. Place your hands on your knees. Great. When you come down, bow the head gently. We're going to actually do a little bit of Kapalabhati right here, so breath of fire. So when you bow the head slightly down, try to make the spine and the neck in alignment with each other and the head at the top of that column. And then just take like a half an inhale and follow my exhale pace, please. Exhale completely. Okay, inhale, take the arms wide, rise up like a starfish. Make your feet parallel and exhale to come down. At first, you can be like a rag doll. Let the torso release from your hips to the crown of your skull. And then place your fingers. Inhale, glide your heart forward. And exhale for a long, smooth breath with a deep bow towards your legs. Listen to the tone of your breath with your inner ear. Inhale, glide the heart forward again. Listen to the tone of the breath with your inner ear. And exhale for a deep bow towards your legs. Okay, inhale, rise up, sweep the arms wide. And exhale, bend your knees, come down like jazz dance warm-up pose. Place the hands on the knees for a moment here. Okay, widen the inner thighs, bow your head gently, and Kapalabhati once more, beginning with a half inhale, just a gentle inhale. Exhale completely. Inhale, rise up. Okay, make your feet parallel. Exhale, come down to your ragdoll position. Using a gentle Ujjayi whisper, bring your heart forward. Make it the most subtle Ujjayi breath. Exhale, very subtle, listening as you bow deeply towards your legs. Repeat that with this breath cycle. And then very subtle Ujjayi exhale to bow towards your legs. Please shift your hands to your hips this time. Rise up to standing. And step your feet together. Find your yoga block and come down to sit in Vajrasana. So the block goes like a little bench, like this. We call this also sitting zazen, like in Zen meditation, like a little bench. Okay, rest your hands in your lap. Place the tip of the tongue behind your top two teeth and make the most subtle form of your Ujjayi sound. And practice listening for the silence that comes at the top of the inhale, the silence at the bottom of your exhale. With the most subtle form of the Ujjayi, it doesn't mean the breath is less strong. It might mean that the breath takes longer to occur. I'm going to ask you to sense like the back of the vertebrae opening, like as if there was a fishbone pattern along the spine, and those muscles gently opening all the way up to the base of the skull. On the exhale, imagine the front of the spine like a zipper and the muscles just gently toning. So the front body gets this increase of tone. Tone is not the same as the word tension. The back body gently opening like that fishbone pattern all along the spine during the inhalation. So 2 more breath cycles, the most subtle form of your Ujjayi breath. And then bringing this inner elegance with you, we are going to come to the sun salutation, and let's use a profile view on the camera, starting on my camera, and then we'll go to Ben's. And I'm going to request that you use 2 blocks to facilitate using the deep low belly for your exhale. So you can place those at the top of your mat. Please come up to standing. And bring your hands together at your heart. When you rise up to stand, sometimes the senses become extroverted in transitions. So now is a time, I'm sorry, Alice, stay with the phone camera. I just meant that I'm going to show a profile rather than a face on. So sometimes in transitions, the senses become extroverted because the senses are there to help us sort of navigate the environment. So when you come up to your mountain pose now, go from the outer ear, middle ear, where you're hearing the sound of my voice, and then again your inner ear, where that delicate Ujjayi breath is happening. With an Ujjayi exhale, release both hands down, turn your palms face forward. Ujjayi inhale, raise the arms up. And Ujjayi exhale, chair pose. Keeping the breath sound subtle does not mean that your pose is less strong. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. As you bow forward, please don't swing the hips backwards, but bow over the strength of your legs. Place your hands on your blocks, tone the deep low belly. Inhale, glide forward, come up to your fingertips. Give the back of the body a chance to open. Exhale for a deep bow, listening to the most subtle form of the Ujjayi. Inhale, glide your heart forward. And then exhale, step your left foot straight back. Crescent lunge base. And inhale to rise, crescent lunge. We're going to stay for several breath cycles. And Alice, this is a good time to go to Ben's camera when you can. So in the crescent lunge, since you guys are experienced students of yoga, listen to the most subtle form of the breath. With the arms up alongside your ears, you kind of have these arm earmuffs, right? So you can't quite hear as well as you would if your arms were down. So that further directs the attention to go inward. Now allow the silence at the inhale pause and the exhale pause, and the subtlety of the Ujjayi breath to really refine your attention. And keeping your eyes inward, or you might try closing your eyes. We'll do 2 breath cycles more. We're going to be adding a twist to this pose. So with your next exhale, sweep the arms wide and come forward like an airplane over your right thigh. I'd like us to keep the 2 blocks where they are. Place your left hand firmly on the block under your left shoulder and inhale, twist to your right. Raise the left arm up. Thank you, Ben. Yeah. So when you're lifting here into the twist, this wants to be something now where the subtlety of the breath comes with you. The pose is not made more strong by the breath being overly aggressive. The pose is strengthened by the inner experience of your mind, your concentration, and integrating all the layers of the koshas: physical body, breath body, mind body, and sense body, wisdom body, and the innermost indwelling, inner radiance, love, clarity. Now let's see if you can tone the right outer hip and outer heel. And as you exhale, return to airplane pose. So float your left arm up. You're hovering over your right thigh. And then lightly touch both blocks and step your left foot forward to meet your right foot. And if you found that your right hip muscles were like, wow, we have a big responsibility, that was true. When you exhale, bow towards your legs. Listen for the subtlety of the sound in the breath. Then inhale, glide forward, open the back hemisphere of your body. And when you exhale, step your right toes back. Good, then inhale, rise to your crescent lunge. When you're coming up, place the arms up overhead. So the arms act a little bit like earmuffs, yoga earmuffs. They don't touch the ears, of course, but they are giving a little buffer. So the outer ear is less open. The middle ear hears the sound of my voice. But your inner ear is where you're going to refine your mental focus. As you listen in the inner ear, also respect the intricacy, the majesty, the inner intelligence of how the ears work. It's really quite amazing. And one more breath cycle, please. You might try closing your eyes so one of your senses is less active while the ears are your primary sense. And then exhale and bow over your front thigh like an airplane. Place your right hand on the block under your right shoulder and please twist to your left. When you're twisting, thank you, Ben, for being our model. When you're twisting, try to sense on the inhale how the back hemisphere of the body, what I call the fishbone pattern, that could actually open some. So your twist is not so efforted or aggressive that you can't find that. And then on the front hemisphere of the body, that the exhale gently tones up along the front of your spine. When you next exhale, come to airplane pose. Float your right arm out to the side. If it feels like your left hip has a big responsibility, that is true. And then let's exhale, touch the two blocks, put them aside, and please step backwards to downward facing dog pose. We're going to stay with Ben's camera. And in downward dog pose, again, when you come back, the arms are like earmuffs for the ears. They buffer the outside sound. Listen to the inner sound. Give yourself the beauty of this really refined mental concentration, which I know you are able to do. Yeah, you guys are doing great. Thank you so much. Let's inhale and come forward to plank pose. Notice that the ears will not have their earmuffs when we get to plank pose. Gaze down between your thumbs. Try to lift the base of the skull so the back of the throat has not changed in shape. And then exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana, please. Onto your stomach and inhale for Cobra pose, which we're going to do 4 times. So let's inhale, roll up to Cobra pose. And exhale, roll down from Cobra slowly. Imagine the front line of the spine becoming more toned. Inhale, roll up to Cobra, your heart, shoulders, the base of the skull, your eyes. And exhale to roll down slowly. Listen for the beauty of the inner sound of the breath and the silence. Twice more, please. Last one. When you exhale to roll down, then I'd like you to curl your toes under, prepare to push up to plank pose, and you can use the subtle inhale to press up to plank if the deep low belly, the arms, everything is collaborating. And then reach back into downward facing dog pose. Beautiful work, everyone. Thank you so much. Let's inhale and lift the right leg high. It's called Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana, one-legged dog pose. And then exhale and float your right foot forward between your hands. Inhale, rise up to your crescent lunge. The arms are alongside the ears. And then exhale and really slowly open to warrior two, where your arms will not be earmuffs. Yeah, that's great, Ben, thank you. Please gaze to your right. And now I do trust that you all have the practice level that you can close your eyes. And listen to the sound of the breath, so subtle, right along the back side of the body for the inhale, opening up the fishbone pattern. And on the exhale, toning the front side of the spine. When you gaze out over your front hand, your right hand, try to get a sense that the base of the skull still lifts and the earlobes slide gently back. So if we were to sense your chakra plumb line, Ben has a nice poster of the chakras in his yoga room, you would sense that the upper palate is not pushing forward towards your right hand, but rather the back of the throat and the upper palate, they work together to keep the fifth chakra, sixth, seventh also aligned. And your next exhale, begin to windmill the arms down and then lightly touch the floor at the end of your exhale. Pivot your left heel up and step backwards to downward dog pose. Great, and then inhale, raise your left leg high. Beautiful, so the head doesn't push towards the support foot when you raise the other leg high, it just stays right there between the upper arms. And exhale, float your left foot up between your two hands. Begin with your inhale to crescent lunge, your standard lunge pose from the sun salutation. And the arms are like earmuffs alongside the ears. And then exhale to rotate Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. And I believe that you can close your eyes, gaze out over your front hand, and listen for the beautiful sound of the breath inside. I'm going to ask you to check the alignment of the physical structure of your body relative to the chakras. So pelvic floor should not sense that one sitting bone is lower or higher than the other. And they're also, you can sense the pubic bone level with the tailbone. The second chakra near the bladder, try to sense that you aren't letting the bladder spill sort of forward energetically, but rather this gentle tone towards the sacrum. Third chakra, you can check that your kidneys are not getting squished and the stomach isn't sort of pushing forward into the front ribs, but rather you expand the back waist. Heart chakra, the center of the heart. And then with your head, give a little lift at the base of the skull and slide the earlobes slightly back. Then the upper palate, you want that to line up, and the crown of the skull. And then when your exhale next begins, start to windmill your arms down and lower down to touch the floor on either side of your front foot. And please step forward to Uttanasana, reach for your two blocks again. And inhale to lengthen your spine forward. Good. And then exhale for a deep bow towards the legs, tone the low belly, especially towards the end of your exhalation. And using the most subtle Ujjayi, inhale, sweep your arms wide and rise up to Urdhva Hastasana. The arms become earmuffs again. And then exhale, return your hands to your heart. And then pause for a few moments to listen in the absence of the breath. You don't need to use Ujjayi right now. Listen in the inner ear. Great, and then I'm going to ask us to come down to the floor, and now Alice, you can go to the side view camera for Sarahjoy. You will need 2 blocks for this. I'm going to move my hair out of the way the best that I can. Okay, so 2 blocks, and hopefully your 2 blocks are stable, that you don't have wobbly blocks. Okay, so I'm going to put these on my mat this way, and I'm going to ask you to place your forearms on the blocks like this. So I'm putting my elbows towards the middle of the blocks because one position we're going to be doing is plank pose like this. And one position that we'll do, we're going to put the fingers together like, how should I say, like spiders. So the fingers are actually straight, and we reach back like this so that the upper back and shoulders will have a little opening. And we're going to go between these 2 positions. So I would like your blocks to be the stable, most stable version that they can be. Okay, so let's come down to the forearms and into table pose. So you can just sense where is the spine when we get started here. Lift the base of your skull so you could bring that line for the chakras through this position too. And using the most subtle form of your Ujjayi. Step 1 foot back to plank pose. Step the 2nd foot back. When you lift the 2nd foot, try not to disturb the physical structure of the pose, so your face doesn't push down towards the floor, and the lumbar spine doesn't sag towards the ground. Then very lightly, touch the knees down, put the finger pads and the thumb pads together, and as you reach back here, you'll tip towards the back of the elbows near the upper arm, but don't tip your blocks over. If you keep the fingers touching but straight, you're going to separate your wrists, which is helpful for rolling the shoulders open. It is okay for the head to release down, but see if the breath can still broaden the back of the spine, including the back of your heart. Okay, now let's go between these positions. Exhale, roll forward to table pose. Inhale, plank pose. Keep the back of the heart broad. Exhale, touch the knees lightly down. Bring your finger pads to touch each other. Inhale, roll backwards, open the upper back, chest and heart. Exhale, roll forward to table. Inhale, plank. Exhale, lightly touch the knees down, finger pads together. And inhale, roll backwards with your hips. Lengthen your spine, open the heart and the chest. And exhale, roll forward, table pose. Last time. Inhale to plank. Exhale, touch the knees really lightly down. And inhale, fingerprints together as you reach back. And let's stay for a few breath cycles here. Allow the head to release, but don't drop the inner armpits towards the floor. Let's keep the shoulders open, shoulder blades wide. So you might have to put a little pressure with your elbows down against the blocks to help keep the shoulders open. One more breath in, please. And then roll forward to table pose. Walk your knees towards the blocks. Take one block to sit on for a moment in Vajrasana, like this. Good. you can rest your hands in your lap and feel all the feels that are going on, right? In the upper back, in the shoulders, in the neck, and the throat. Now watch here for another moment, please. We're going to take one of these blocks, the one that I'm not sitting on, and you have the block in your hands, and then it's going to go like this behind your head. And right there at the base of the skull, you put the little beveled edge of the block, and I'm holding the block to pull up with my elbows and to lift the base of the skull. So there is a sense of the spine becoming more vertical, the thoracic spine having a little bit of a back bend. But this movement with the block, I'm actually using my hands to pull it slightly up. So at this point, when you do a back bend, it's not like the head tips backwards. It's still in line with the spine. And the spine does a back bend like beads on a mala without one bead becoming compressed. I'd like you to try that just a couple times, please, because we're going to take it into the pose called Anjaneyasana. So let's go to Ben's camera. So we take the block between the two hands. Place the beveled edge of your block at the base of your skull at the occiput. So you're not on the vertebrae, you're at the strong bone at the base of the skull. And then you're going to lift up, lift your elbows. Yep. Good. Lift the base of the skull. And though you're sitting on one block, kneeling, start doing your little back bend in the upper back, the chest, the heart. Squeeze the elbows towards each other. That means that the elbows are only as wide as the shoulders, but they're not flaring apart. Breathe in. And then exhale and use the front spine to bring yourself upright. Release the block for a few moments. Notice the base of the skull. And then please repeat that. So you take the block. Yeah?
Somehow I lost Ben's.
Oh, let me see if I can find it. So
ask to start video, which I pressed.
Okay. So maybe Ben didn't hear that and he'll have to, you can try it again. So when you guys do this one more time, little back bend. So take the block behind the base of your skull.
I'm back.
Thank you, Ben. And what you're doing is like a back bend that brings you into the upper back, the heart, the highest part of your back bend. It's not that you're compressing your lumbar spine there, but rather that the whole spine is going upwards. Let's do 3 breath cycles more. You can use the subtle form of the Ujjayi. Please hug the elbows towards each other so the shoulder blades are wide on your upper back. And then use an exhale so the front spine is going to bring you upright, and release the block back to your lap. And notice what's happening at the base of your skull. So we're going to be taking this into the pose called Anjaneyasana. And I'm going to request that Alice goes to my phone camera. And we're going to step like this, you guys. The right foot forward, left knee back. And I'm going to ask you to start on 2 blocks where you've got the strength to press down with your fingers right here. So this is a little bit like cat pose. Bring the spine and the pelvis forward, yes, but then press into cat pose right here. And listen for the Ujjayi sound, the most subtle in the inner ear. So this cat pose should be causing you to have a little lift of the deep low belly, so you're not resting right now on your right thigh bone. The right hip joint should not feel like it's hanging from the right thigh bone, nor compressing it. Then take your block, one of them. Inhale, slowly roll up to Anjaneyasana. And take the block at the base of your skull. Take the elbows up, please. And begin the process of rising up and arcing back. here we want to squeeze the elbows towards each other again. So the temptation is for the elbows to go wide, but I'd like the elbows to hug in so your shoulder blades are wide. And lift your heart, and just as much as you desire, you can sweep the arms to go straight up alongside your ears. And fully enjoy your Anjaneyasana. The ears rest between the upper arms. And then with an exhale, pull yourself upright and begin to come forward and down. Place the two blocks. Curl the left toes under. Let's switch sides and we'll go to Ben's camera. So I get to watch you because he'll be our model. You can step your left foot forward between your hands. Totally fine to put padding under your back knee if you need to. Start with the two blocks. Thank you, Ben, for being there in cat pose already. So the spine is doing cat pose. Open the upper back, the back of the shoulder blades. Tone the deep low belly. And then begin to inhale. Take your block between your hands. Inhale, roll the spine up. Yes, beautiful. And then you're going to bend the elbows. Place the block, the beveled edge, right behind the base of your skull. Hug the elbows towards each other as they rise up. Listen for the arc of the spine to be smooth, one vertebrae at a time. And as you sense the shoulder blades becoming wide, they also support the heart. You can choose if you'd like to sweep the arms straight up alongside your ears. Listen to the inner aliveness of the body. The subtlety of the Ujjayi should mean that you're not over-efforting right now. You look so beautiful, everyone. Thank you. Then you're going to use your exhale to bring the torso upright. Return your blocks to the floor, fingertips to the blocks, and let's step backwards to downward facing dog pose, please. Downward dog is like a moment of symmetry and refuge from Anjaneyasana. Great, and then you can walk your knees down to the floor. Rest back in child's pose for a moment. And walk your hands back towards your knees. Rise up to kneeling. And Alice, let's go to my side view camera. Okay, you guys are experienced students of yoga, and I'm going to give you a yoga adventure now. So what you do is you sit. I hope you have a wall or a closed door or the door frame. You sit and measure like this to the heels. I'm going to put this block right there measuring where my heels have landed. The end of my heels. Okay, and then that's where the elbows are going to go. And you put the block between the hands. And you raise up with the hips. This is called dolphin pose. And then from dolphin pose, you put one foot against the wall. And you walk up to a gentle sort of beginning inversion. I'm saying gentle. I know this is dynamic, but you're not swinging up to touch the wall. You're not going all the way up. And then we take one big step to come down, because one big step is actually more stable than many small steps to come down. Okay, let's give that a go. For those who would like, of course, it's optional. And if you just prefer dolphin pose, that's completely fine. Dolphin pose is a strength building pose, an upper back opening pose. It's a beautiful pose of its own. So reminder that I sat, you need to have your block for measuring. So I'm sitting at the baseboard all the way back. There's the end of my heels. That's where I measure to. That's where the elbows go. The block goes between the palms so that The heels of your hands are on the sides of the block. And then dolphin pose becomes this half inversion. And it's one step to get up and stay up for a few breath cycles, and it's one step to come down. I get to enjoy you now. Yeah. It's very fun. So dolphin pose by itself, of course, is plenty, completely fine. A pose all of its own, a good one. And then when you come down from your adventure, whether it's dolphin or the inversion, what you can do is take this block in child's pose and bring it under your head like this, right under the forehead. So that in your child's pose, the arms are like Sphinx pose. And in this child's pose, you can gently roll the head side to side, releasing any unnecessary tension across the forehead. There are stress receptors there. And then please walk your hands back towards your knees. And we're going to use these two blocks now for bridge pose. We're heading to bridge pose for the upper back, chest, and heart. And then we'll go to Matsyendrasana, fish pose. If you're wearing a hair clip, please take it out. It can be very painful in bridge pose, depending on where you had it. And so please lie down. We can stay with my side camera view, Alice. The two blocks are going to go under your feet for this bridge pose. So when you first lie down, come down and just check and see, like, what's the state of things for the upper back, the neck, the throat, the heart. You take these two blocks, they go under the feet like this. Good. And then press down into your heels, lift the tailbone. So when you're rolling up, please center your head. Don't turn to look at the camera. No need to. I know you know this practice. So here's bridge pose, Satya Bandhasana. Take the tailbone towards the knees and then reach under. You can clasp the hands or hold a strap and tuck one shoulder under and then the other. And then invite your pose to go up more towards the full height of your bridge pose. And I'd like you to sense the strength of your bridge pose is really about the back of your heart, shoulder blades, and how you root your shoulders down. And close the eyes and listen with the inner ear. You're becoming a very elegant yogi. To practice in this way is going to mature your inner experience of yoga relatively quickly. Now, keeping your shoulders grounded, begin the process of lowering your hips down. That's not one vertebrae at a time this morning. You can lower the hips until your hips are sitting on your wrists or your forearms. And tip the block to the right and the block to the left. So you could keep the fingers interlaced there. You could still hold the strap. If your wrists are close enough, your hips will sit on your wrists or your forearms. Roll the shoulders down. Lift the heart up. Now's a good time to flatten your palms to the floor. And then we're going to stretch the legs out straight. So at the moment, my palms are flat to the floor underneath my thighs. Then you're going to press into your hands, wrists, and forearms and lift the chest and the heart and the throat to Matsyendrasana, fish pose. For some of you, when you come up to Matsyendrasana, you'll have to remind yourself to really root your legs. Your pelvis is rooting your hands because you're sitting on the back of the hands. Root down through your elbows. The shoulders are not touching the floor. The heart goes up. And if the head doesn't reach the floor behind you for future times in Matsyendrasana, you want to put something under the top of your head back here. Something small, perhaps. Now start to lengthen the back of your neck. It's going to roll your spine down. Swivel your arms out from under your hips. And take the arms out alongside your torso. And watch how your body recalibrates with the breathing here, and also the sensations, the circulation, the innervation down through your arms, fingers and thumbs. And Alice, we can go to Ben's camera now. And so in Shavasana, this is the most important pose in your whole practice, actually. So here, you do not need to focus on the breath doing anything in particular. You're actually just going to let the breath take care of you. But take your listening deep down to the inner ear. The silence of the inner ear. So what you can sense is the silence that's inside and the massive, immense space of silence that's also outside of us. And let those two spaces, those two big silences emerge. So the intimate silence that you can sense at the inner ear is connected to, is the same as the immensity of silence surrounding us all. We like to say there is the intimacy and the immensity, and they are both happening. As you rest your mind on that inner silence at the inner ears, no need to complete any thought that rises into the sky of the mind. Simply come back to the silence. Your body is right now integrating your practice. So no need for thinking or planning. As you rest your attention at the inner ears, allow the outer body to deeply, deeply relax. To drape over the inner body with a profound ease. Let the outer body become even heavier with relaxation. Travel more deeply to the interior where the inner ear points for you to the silence beneath all thoughts. Welcome this to go more deeply yet again, releasing any unnecessary tension in your body or your mind. Allow it to go deeper yet again. The outer body much more still, heavy with relaxation. And your mind resting in the silence of the inner ear. Now gently become aware of the immense silence, the immensity around you. the intimate silence, the intimacy within you. You can lightly wiggle your fingers and your toes. Please bend your knees one at a time. And you may roll to your right side. We'll use both hands to come back up to sitting, and Alice can come to the Sarahjoy phone camera when she's able to. You can come up to a seat that you feel stable in, like a pyramid, so the hands can go out over the knees. If you like using a mudra, you can do that too. You also could choose to rest your hands in your lap. Yeah. And try to sense the back hemisphere of the plumb line, right? The back of your spine, the back of your heart, the base of your skull. Please bring your hands together at your heart. You can let the thumbs rest gently against the sternum. We can sing together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. I'm going to come up to say hi to you for a few minutes. Seat to sit on.